Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Factional Fight Update from Griffith's car. As you can see, I'm in my car driving home and I thought I'd discuss a few things that have been bouncing around in my brain. So this week in Worm, there has been the Impalong going on, and this is the Blackmore Impalong. There was a couple weeks ago, there was another Impalong, the Lunalong, and I unfortunately missed that one due to just being busy in real life and just not, even this one I almost missed in the sense that, like, very last minute, I was like, okay, I got a couple hours here that I can probably spend some time sailing over, and I'm so glad that I did because I've been having a blast. So I was able to spend some time over the weekend just messing around, mostly AFKing, but a lot of time I was able to check in and see what was going on and imp some things and get in on some sermons, and yeah, so tons of fun. And yeah, now just one thing before I go on about the Impalong that I wanted to discuss was that Joelle, who is now streaming Worm as well, and she's the community relations assistant, coordinator, community relations coordinator, or officer assistant, or whatever you call it. She is really enjoying these videos and is trying to convince me to release these things on YouTube to the general public on a weekly basis, as opposed to just making them Patreon only. Now, I know that our patrons are receiving this extra content as sort of a thank you to you guys, and we do deeply appreciate your pledges and your support to the show and all that you do and coming out and watching us and everything like that. But at the same time, I do want more of an outreach to our community, to the wider community, our wider viewers, and all this while we've always really been under the feeling like our content we want it to be free, and that we ask, if you're enjoying our show and you're getting value out of our show, you like tuning into our show, and you feel like you have, that it's worth something to you, then please consider supporting us. And many of you have already supported us, and we are so greatly appreciative of that support. But at the same time, I am kind of tending to agree with Joelle that, and I kind of want to make these more available to the wider community, just because there's some value here that people can get from our community, and some awareness that we do have a Patreon page. I will be continuing to post these videos to our Patreon page as well, but I think I'm gonna, for at least the time being, release them also to the general public. These shows I've been using as a way to sort of just hash out some ideas and talk them out loud. There's no audience interaction because these are recorded in my car, obviously. So it's an opportunity for me to just talk about things that are on my mind, and then I get them out in a sort of cohesive way. And in that way, when it comes to the actual show, I have those, I've already thought through these processes, and it hopefully, I don't know if it does really, hopefully it comes out a little bit more fluid on the show. That's the hope anyway. So this week is a non-news week, so we're not going to get any update. However, lots of things going on right now in the game that are, that we can easily talk about, and the Impalong is one of them. So back to the Impalong. One thing that I thoroughly enjoyed yesterday, Gumbo put on a Storage Wars sort of Worm edition. They called it Storage Worm. And the way it worked was that there was a building with 10 rooms. Each room was locked, and inside the room was just a bunch of stuff. Bunch of random stuff, and they were all behind a gate, so it was like each room was a 2x2, and we were able to walk on one of those tiles, and the other 3 tiles were locked behind a fence, so you can't really see much. So on the other side of the fence, in some of the rooms were like items on the ground. Sometimes it was just pile of items. Sometimes it was like a wardrobe. Don't know what's in there. It was just a random smattering of items. And then we all look, everybody looks to see what's in there, or whatever you can see, and then the bidding begins, and you bid on what you think might be there. And there was a lot of hidden goodies in each of the rooms, and some of the rooms were more duds than others. And what was interesting was that all of the proceeds went to Gumbo's Deal or No Deal, which is another event that he runs. Super fun to watch, super riveting. And so all the proceeds go to the Deal or No Deal prizes. I think that's a great idea. On the Storage Wars, you know, I was on the, you know, Brian was, you know, playing with me, and we were like, okay, we want to contribute to this, so we're going to bid on something. We're going to try our best to win at one of the rooms. We let the first couple rooms go by, but what we noticed was that people were really bidding like crazy. They went all out, and you know, it just goes to show that people are willing to put money towards something that they're not quite sure what it's gonna be. So there was a couple times I'm like thinking, okay, this room I'm gonna bid on, and I'm gonna go up to a 20 silver. I'll pay 20 silver, and the bidding starts, and I'm like putting in my bids, and then next thing you know, it's like well above 20 silver, and I'm like thinking, okay, I don't know if I want to spend more than 20 silver on what's in there, because I don't think the value's there. I would even be willing to put in more money than the value turned out to be, because I know it's going to a good place. It's going to the Deal or No Deal event, which is, in my opinion, just a great event for Worm. But man, people were all over those you know, those buildings, and were putting money, like good money down. Like I think in the last room went for like 35 silver or something like that. That's insane. Insanity. Anyway, I was very entertained by the whole process and the bidding and everything, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you so much to Gumbo for putting that together, because that was just a great idea. And then the Deal or No Deal happened, you know, shortly after, and unfortunately I had to be AFK for that part. I got into my line, and then I realized, you know, I don't have enough time for this, so I got out of line. But I kind of tried to scroll through the actual game after I got back, just to reread it, and it seemed exciting. And what I noticed was that Fabricant was recording, so was Kimmy and Pink. Fabricant and Kimmy are both part of the VEN network, which is the Valray Entertainment Network, the official entertainment network of Worm. And so if you haven't yet subscribed, or not subscribed, but followed their channel, their Twitch channel, go find them. It's Fabricant and Kimmy and Pink, and they stream Worm. And I noticed that Fabricant had made a highlight. I just noticed it this morning, so I haven't had a chance to see it. But this morning I saw a highlight that he had made of the Deal or No Deal game. So looking forward to watching that when I get home tonight. So yeah, that was awesome. Another thing that was awesome was the night before, and this was late at night, so I was able to play a little bit after the kids went to sleep. I've sort of been like squeezing in Worm time when I really shouldn't be, when I really should be. And here's the thing, it's like I got a lot of work to do, and so what I find is that if I log on and just like log my priest on and pray, and I'm waiting for my sermon, for example, then I can also do my work during that time. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sort of like logged on, not really doing much, mostly doing my work. But every so often I'll look up and see what's going on. Anyway, Joelle put on her stream, and she's now, I think, now officially part of the VEN network, and she called Retro over, and together they ran an event in the arena, which I'm like, there's a stream, there's an event, I can put my work off on hold for a minute and head over there and see what's going on. So yeah, that great fun again, like super fun. Retrograde basically started spawning a whole bunch of things, and it just got crazier and crazier and crazier, and the amount of people that showed up was incredible. There was just tons of fun of like fighting stuff, waves after wave. My favorite part of that entire thing was when Retrograde spawned Libella, and there was like a massive Libella avatar right away. I'm not sure if it was hitting everybody, but it was hitting me, and it hit me a couple times, and I had to get out of there because 2 hits and I was down to like 20%. And those 2 hits happened really quick in quick succession. So I was like, okay, I better get out of here because I have a feeling, and I don't know for sure, but I don't have a deed, or I'm not part of a deed on Independence. So I think that if I were to die, I would have to choose to spawn back at the starting town. And we're really far from the starting town. So I don't know what would have happened if I died. So I ran right out of there, and luckily it looked like Retro had spawned a whole bunch of cotton and animal bits for us to make healing covers and things. And I'm also the type of person to carry around Farmer Salve with me, because Farmer Salve is so lightweight. You know, I think each application only takes 0.01 for a light wound, which is like nothing. So you can carry 1 kilogram of Farmer Salve, and that's like 100 applications of Farmer Salve, which works great for bruises, and what I found out also works for internal wounds. Now, internal wounds is the type of wound that only Valray creatures can inflict on you, and so Libella was inflicting internal wounds. What sucks about internal wounds is that cotton doesn't work for internal wounds, and right away I got 2 bad internal wounds, which were just like craziness. Also, the sensual horoscopes, man, those were, what's the word? A little creepy? I'm not sure how else to describe them, but they definitely set the atmosphere, definitely set the tone. All in all, it was a fun event, and was made even better by the fact that there was a stream to go along with it, to watch and to listen to while we were getting rampaged by these mobs, and Retro every so often closing the gates on us, although he did feel bad and let them open again. I am so thankful for that, because there was several times where I would have definitely died if not for the fact that there was gates that I could go through. So yeah, lots of fun, and I'm really happy that I did make the effort to come out to the Impalong. There's still tons of imping to do. I've been mostly focusing on weaponsmithing because I want to get that weaponsmithing skill up, and I've so far gotten it up by about 1 and a little bit. So I got 1 and a little bit of skill in weaponsmithing, which, by the way, if you don't know, that's a lot of weaponsmithing. Yeah. What's nice about weaponsmithing is that I can queue up 6 actions. Possibly the 7th, I'll you know, after that first one goes, I'll queue up a 7th action, and then I can let it go for the next minute or 2. And during that 2 minutes, I could get some work done. So this is sort of how I play Worm. I use it to split my time, and what I find is that I can stay motivated longer to do my work if I'm playing Worm at the same time. If I'm doing it all just focusing on the work, every, you know, half hour to an hour, I'm like, oh, gotta take a break, gotta get a drink, gotta do something. But when I'm playing Worm at the same time, it's almost like I built in those breaks. I get a few second break every couple minutes, and it allows me to just keep on grinding. It's like part of the grind. Do my work, grind out some Worm, and it keeps me going. So that's sort of how it's been going, and altogether I have been able to rack up a good amount of weaponsmithing skill, which is now just above 71. Boy, does that skill go so slow, man. Even this is with really high quality Circle of Cunning tools, and I also have sleep bonus turn on, and they've been providing affinity food at the Impalong. So if you didn't know this and you're at the Impalong, they provide affinity food, and somebody made a little tool, because all the affinity food is labeled 1 through 138, because there's 138 skills. But the problem is that each individual food will give you a different affinity than somebody else, because every character is offset by a certain amount. So for me, number 38 gives me weaponsmithing, but for somebody else, number 38 would give them a random other skill. But somebody on the forums made a little tool, a web-based tool, that allows you to put in, like, it asks you, what does affinity number 1 give you? Right? So you click that, okay, affinity number 1 gives me aggressive fighting, or whatever it is. And then and the next box is like, what affinity would you like to find? And then you put that in, and it'll tell you the number of that affinity. So yeah, that's very helpful. If you don't know about it, it's on the Blackmore Impelong forum that's on the in the town square. It's somewhere on the 6th page. If you scroll to the 6th page, somebody made that tooltip. Awesome. It works like a charm, and allows you to find your affinity food right away. I also did a little bit of channeling. I did a little bit of like casting while I was watching Kimmy and Pink do her thing, and I got a bunch of casting done. I probably got maybe 0.03 channeling, which is huge for my priest, because she's already at 90, I want to say 94.2 or something like that. So an extra little bump there, that's really good. So I've been using this Impelong to skill up my skills, but at the same time helping other people, and it's just been great fun. A lot of fun. So yeah, it's also another thing that's been happening over the weekend is there have been an insane number of worm streams going on this weekend. It might be due to the Impelong. It might just be the fact that we're moving forward and getting more exposure to this Venn network and to the streaming, and people are just jumping in, seeing like, hey, maybe I can try this. And absolutely, everybody has the capability of streaming. All it takes is for you to, turn on the recorder and start streaming, and people love listening to other people talk about video games. It's something that I enjoy immensely too. I mean, I was listening to a Joe Rogan Experience podcast that he just recently came out with what's the guy's name? Anthony something. He used to be on Opie and Anthony, and there was a whole segment where they're just talking about video games and virtual reality, and man, it's just, people love listening to other people talk about video games, especially if they are themselves gamers. So yeah, turn on the stream, talk about video games, and it really doesn't, there was somebody who was saying, I was thinking of streaming, but I'm not sure if anybody would be interested in what I have to say. I understand that feeling, because we had that exact same feeling when we started, but as it turns out, like, what we basically did was our motivation for starting to stream was to get the word out about Worm Online. We wanted more people playing this game, because we thought that if more people played, it would make the experience that much better, to have a populated world, and then the game would thrive, and so on and so forth. And this is a game that we are truly passionate about. We love every element of it and how it's being developed, and it just, the game fits right for us, and we think that there are people out there for whom this game would fit right for them too. And we wanted to get that idea across, because I think that this game gives a first impression that might leave a sour taste in some people's mouths, but if they were just able to see that there is a light not that far away, that there's something in this game that they would truly enjoy, that maybe they would stick it out a little bit longer to find that thing that they would enjoy about this game. So yeah, that's why we do it. That's why we do it. And we think that the more people who are streaming and the more people who are releasing videos on YouTube, that just means that there's going to be more chance for other people to discover this game. One thing that I noticed in this process was that there are some people in the Venn, and also other people who are streaming Worm, who are switching it up. So they'll play a different game and stream that game. And what I'm finding is that because of that, they're getting more viewers from that game. Then they come back to Worm, and then I'm watching their stream, and there's these people, oh, you're not playing that game anymore? You're playing this new game. What's this new game? And then, the streamer would talk about it. Like this example happened with Catspur. She's playing this other game. I can't remember what it's called. Something Aria or something. Legend of Arya, maybe. And so, you know, I'm really happy for Cats, because her numbers are going up, because, you know, there's more exposure going to another game. And then she brings them back to Worm, and there's some people like, oh, I'm downloading this game right now. This looks interesting. And so, yeah, you know, the more that we do this, the more exposure we're going to give to Worm, and the better that the Worm experience is going to be, because I truly believe this game thrives off of those player-to-player interactions, such as the Impalong. It's just a wonderful, wonderful event. Always enjoy going to Impalongs. I just wish I had more time to participate in all of the funness that can happen. There was another thing that was happening. It was a treasure hunt. I unfortunately missed it. I was AFK most of it, and I sort of came back and read a little bit about what was going on. There were like these keys hidden around the island off Deed, and people had to go find these keys, and when they opened whatever it was, I missed exactly what the prizes were, but I think one of them was a kingdom wagon. Not sure what was in the kingdom wagon, or if it was just the kingdom wagon itself, which in it of itself is a good prize. But yeah, so if you haven't come out to the Impalong yet, what are you waiting for? It's lasting all this week and all the way through to the end of the weekend. There's events happening all the time. I know the Deal or No Deal is going to be happening again. I just from the sheer amount that Gumbo was able to raise for it, I can see that we're going to have several games of Deal or No Deal. So I'm so happy to see that. I hope to get a chance to give a shot at trying to get onto the Deal or No Deal. It looks like it's steep competition, though. Good, maybe 30 people try to get in, and only one lucky winner gets to play. But I'm looking forward to watching more of that anyway, because, man, watching it is just as fun almost as playing it. Very intense. So yeah, so this update is mostly about the Impalong, just because that's what's fresh in my mind. I'm not 100% sure about the streaming schedule next week. I'm going to give Brian hell for not showing up to the last one. He canceled on me right at the last minute, and it was a big one, and we had a lot of fun testing out the new system. I had a lot of fun testing out the new system. I got to be a part of the new animations, so my character is going to be an animated GIF on the new tutorial sort of instructions stuff, and yeah, I guess Brian just missed out on it. So I'm going to make sure that he's in on the next one, and that's going to happen this weekend sometime. I'm going to really bug him for Friday, because Friday, I prefer Friday over Sunday, and Saturday's never good for both of us. So yeah, we'll see what we can do about Friday. And there's going to be more Impalong stuff. Friday is probably a great day for Impalong stuff, because, you know, the festivities are still going on, and I'm sure there's going to be events on Friday night. And yeah, so we'll see what happens there. I can't guarantee the Friday date. I'll let you guys know as soon as I can through, I guess, the forums or on Patreon or wherever else I can. Oh, Discord. Discord is where I probably will be able to post it, and most people will be able to see it there. So, I think that's everything I wanted to say. Oh, you know what? There was one more thing I wanted to say. And that was my reflections on the tutorial system as I'm talking about it now. Should probably, yeah, discuss this. So my reflections on the new tutorial system as it was shown to us on our stream. So one thing I really like about the new tutorial system is that it leads players through doing things. So they have to chop down a tree, they have to, you know, chop it up into logs. They have to create a kindling and a campfire. This all is reminiscent for me about the old tutorial system that I really liked, because it, you know, instructed you and guided you through things. The other thing that I really like about it is the idea that a lot of this stuff is going to be happening. Now, I'm not sure, 100% sure, actually, if this is true, but maybe it is true that a lot of this is going to be happening on the live servers, not on like a Golden Valley sort of server. It's going to happen on Independence. Although Retro was saying something about how there is still going to be like a Golden Valley sort of separate server that they're going to run through that's sort of obstacle course-ish. But we didn't get to see that, so we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But my hope is that like the chopping of the trees and the digging of the dirt and the mining of the ore and those sorts of things that it leads you through, my hope is that that stuff is happening on the Independent server, because it'd just be like kind of neat to have that sort of interaction with the real server as opposed to on a separate server. The one thing that I'm not 100% sold on is, and some people brought this up, it's a very wordy tutorial. There's a lot of information, and I know that they mentioned that they tried to parse it down into as little amount of information as possible, but I almost feel like it could be even less, you know. Like for example, there's 2 separate windows. One says use WASD to move, and the second one says hold the left click button on your mouse to look around. So either that could be made into one window, or in my opinion, I almost feel like that instruction doesn't even need to be there. Or maybe it could be something that pops up if the game detects that you're not able to do anything. Like you don't, like, so this pop-up is literally for the person who's never played any video games before, who doesn't know how to move in a regular video game using a keyboard and mouse, which, sure, maybe there's the chance that somebody normally plays on console and they got a computer for the very first time in their entire life, and the very first game they ever play, they decide to play as Worm Online. Okay, maybe. Probably not, though. And I bet that anybody coming into this game would more than likely be able to do those sorts of things without 2 separate pop-ups telling them to do those things. And then there's a couple things like that in the pop-ups that I think don't need to be there. My feeling is that the first pop-up should be go do something. You know, like, that's my feeling, because the person's gonna come into the game, okay, what's this game about? Oh, I need to go, okay, I need to go do something. How do I go? Oh, W goes, okay, good. And they're gonna be moving around, and you know, they should be able to figure out how to move around. Now, there is something different about Worm Online, and that's the left click. The left click turns the sort of perspective as opposed to the right click, which is most other games. I strongly believe that those 2 buttons by default should be switched. I really do. I really feel like left click should be the contextual menu and the right click should be look around. And that's only because most people coming from another game, that's the system that they're going to be used to. And that you should have the option of flipping it, and if you are currently in the game now, you should just have it the way it is, like flip, because people, you know, don't like change. So keep it the way it is for the people who are playing, but all new players should by default have those 2 mouse buttons switched. And then you don't even need to explain it, because most people will figure that out and it's intuitive to them. That right click will look around, and left click will actually, like, I want to engage with that, so I'm going to left click it. That's how games are. So if you set it that way, you probably don't need to give those instructions, and the first instruction should be something like activate your shovel and dig this pile of dirt, right? Then they come in, they're like, okay, what do I gotta do? Oh, look at this. Okay, I gotta activate my shovel. I gotta do that, and it tells me, okay, double click my shovel and then dig dirt, and I'm gonna dig dirt by clicking the ground, click the dig. So that should be in like the menu. And they're like, okay, cool, like you dig it. And then it should say something like, you notice that the slope goes down, it gets, you know, you can adjust the terrain. If that's the first thing that people see in this game, they'll be like mind blown right off the bat. Like, wow, I can dig and it's going to change the train, and then that train stays like that forever, and I can just dig a big hole right here. That would be like mind-blowing for the person. They're going to be excited to get on to the next thing. Okay, what else can I do? You know what I mean? My general feeling is that most video gamers, in most tutorials, skip the tutorial for the most part. Like, I know I do this mostly. Like, just, there's too much words, too much reading. I just want to get to the playing. You'll skip the words. Not very much of that tutorial is going to be retained in the long term, right? Like, I've had that experience where I'll read through the tutorial kind of like, okay, I kind of don't really understand it because I don't understand the game just yet, so I can't really put any context to it. But then after I start playing, I hit something where I'm like, okay, I kind of remember something in the tutorial about that, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Now, I know that the answer to that was Book of Wisdom, which, by the way, is called notifications in the HUD settings. Okay, barring that, I think that that can be utilized very well as sort of contextualized notifications that I think by default should pop up as windows, right? Like, they should, instead of being a little icon saying flashy, like look here, I think, but by default they should just pop up as windows right away. That way, somebody's trying to do something and then like a window shows up and says, oh, you're trying to do this. Well, here's how you do it. If you want more information, click here, or whatever. Or something like that. Or something, I don't know, something that you can search through, something. I'm sure that the Book of Wisdom is great. It has all these things in it. I have to go take a look at that. I should probably spend a little bit of time with that system. Whether or not you're able to search for what you're looking for through the Book of Wisdom, maybe you can, and maybe it has all these things that I'm looking to see in the new tutorial system. So maybe a more of an integration between that Book of Wisdom and the tutorial system is something there. But yeah. Now, Brian did tell me something about what he would like in the tutorial system. I just can't remember what it is, so I'm going to have to let him discuss it. And I think that tutorial system is going to be a central topic of conversation the next time that we go on stream. Let me just make this left turn here safely. All right. So I think that's my thoughts about the tutorial system. I do appreciate that they're working on this thing. You know, I did mean to ask Retro a question that's been burning on my mind that I completely forgot about. I even had it written down when we were doing the show regarding they keep saying, like, there's a difference between UI and UX, which is user interface and user experience. So I guess my question was, it seems as though there's been a lot of work on UX recently with things like place items and you know, adding keybinds and so on and so forth. But when is the UI going to be getting all the love? When is that happening? Is it happening behind the scenes now? Are there any thoughts? I did bring up an idea about a UI idea that I think would be great, and it sounded almost like they already thought of it, which was keybinds right in the contextualized menu. So like you can, you know, you activate your shovel, you right click, you get that menu, and then you go down to dig. But before you click dig, if you could just, you know, hit a keybind right there, it'll like automatically bind dig to that key. Something like this would be cool. And so that's like a UX, that's a UX thing, I guess, like a user experience thing. And then UI would be like, what does that menu look like? Now, all along when they said that they're working on UI, I didn't really, in my mind, think about that really they are kind of working on user experience stuff. But what I had in mind mostly was UI elements, because I really do feel like the UI needs a big overhaul. So like those little contextualized menus, those right-click menus, you know, those need to be modernized. I wholeheartedly believe those need to be modernized. And if we can get like a nice looking, like you click and you get like a radial, you know, a Skyrim kind of radial menu that's contextualized and for that specific situation, you get this nice little menu. I mean, the menu itself is already contextualized. Like it's already, if I'm activating a shovel and I right-click ground, I get dig as an option, is there. But if I don't have the shovel activated, then I don't get dig, right? So just get that menu to look nicer so that you're not scrolling through these little tiny words, but rather there's more like icon-based radial menu. That I think needs to be addressed. And then another thing that was mentioned, I think it was on Bloody Drongo stream, is that they are working on a contextualized keybind. Ooh, this sounds really good. Contextualized keybind. So you activate your shovel and you press this keybind when you're hovering over dirt, it'll know to dig. But if you're activating your hatchet and you put it on a ground that has a tree tile, it'll know to chop the tree down. And then you use that same keybind when you're activating hatchet on log, and it'll know to chop it up. So yes, this is amazing. I cannot wait for this, because this will clear up so many keys that are on my you know, keyboard and put it all into this one key. I'm interested to know how they're addressing and trying to resolve all the issues surrounding those contextualized keybinds. Like for example, let's say there's two possible actions. Maybe there's a way to sort of set the default contextual keybind, you know, in the radial menu or whatever, in the little contextualized menu. I think that's the way that they address it in Skyrim, if I'm not mistaken. Like you can, maybe I am mistaken. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like there should be some way of making sort of like the default action customizable, and that should be, from the user experience, a fluid thing to do. It shouldn't be, I need to go into the settings and I need to go to my keybind sort of like menu and scroll through and find that exact combination, hatchet on ground, and then, you know, sort of thing. That would be just too much for the user. Nobody's going to do it. But if right embedded in the UI element, there's a way of changing the default action when I'm activating a hatchet and I click on a, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Oh, okay, here's a perfect example. I activate my pickaxe and I right click a rock tile, right? So normally you would think, okay, you want to mine, but what if I want to mine up or down, or what if I want to prospect instead? So you would need a way of, let's say okay, I'm going to go prospect. So maybe I'll go over to the iron vein. I'll right click activate my pickaxe, right click, and I'll get all the options that I have available. And then I have a way of saying, okay, I want my main action keybind thing to do prospecting now. And I just switch it to prospecting, and then from now on I can just press that button and it'll prospect. And then I now want to mine, so I'm going to just change it to mine, and then that button does mining. Like there should be some easy way of flipping that contextualized keybind. And all the while you can have like another keybind for prospect and another keybind for mine up if you just want to do one prospect action or whatever. But yeah, I'm super excited that they're doing that. So anyway, I gotta come to a close. My drive is coming to an end, and this video is getting pretty long for my phone. So I hope to see you guys in the next episode. We will be streaming on the weekend, and I hope to see you at the Impalong. And until we see you next time, keep on worming and have a good one.